Hi students, welcome to today's grammar lesson. Today we're going to learn how to use conditionals. I'm going to be using terms such as zero, first, second, and third conditional. But don't worry so much about memorizing these terms as you should with memorizing how to use these types of conditionals. So let's get started and take a look at the zero conditional. Here are two examples. Read these examples to yourself, and let's see if we can figure out the rule. So, in this example, the if clause is in the present simple tense. And what follows in the main clause is also in the present simple tense, or it's an imperative to stop doing something. So, for example, if you don't water flowers, they die. If you have a headache, stop watching TV. That's the imperative. So, with the zero conditional, we express a general truth or we give advice. Let's look at the first conditional. Take a look at these two examples and read them to yourself. So, what's the rule? The if clause, again, uses the present simple, just like the zero conditional. But in the main clause, we have the future simple past, simple tense. So, the first conditional refers to the present and the future. It expresses a possible condition, and it could have some results in the future. So, if the weather is nice, we will go for a walk. If you don't apologize, she will never trust you again. So, remember, the first conditional expresses something that happens in the present and in the future. What's the second conditional? Look at this example. Jack wants to buy a house, but he can't do this because he doesn't have any money. So, what can Jack say? Jack can say, if I had a lot of money, I would buy a big house. So in this if situation, it's dependent on Jack having money. He doesn't have the money right now, so it's an imaginary situation. Let's look at this example. Susan wants to phone Paul, but she can't do this because she doesn't know his number. So, she said, if I knew Paul's number, I would phone him. But she doesn't know his number, right? So it's an imaginary situation. Let's look at this example. So, if I had a lot of money, I would buy a big house. If I knew his number, I would phone him. So, can you tell what the rule is for the second conditional? That's right. The if clause has the past tense, the past simple tense, whereas the main clause is using would plus an infinitive. That's the present conditional. So, like the first conditional, the second conditional refers to the present and the future. The only difference is that the second conditional is an unreal situation, and the result is also unreal. So this situation is usually imaginary or impossible because something is lacking. In the first example, he doesn't have any money to buy a big house, and in the second example, she doesn't know his phone number. So the second conditional is for imaginary situations. Compare the first and the second conditional. If John runs fast, he will win the race. Can John run fast? Yes, he can. So, it's possible that he could win the race. If John ran fast, he would win the race. John doesn't run fast, so it's impossible that he's going to win the race. This is an imaginary situation. So remember, in the first conditional, there's a possibility that something could happen in the future. But in the second conditional, it's impossible because something is missing or something is lacking. So, in the second conditional, please remember that it's something that's unlikely to happen. Now, I want to tell you about the third conditional. Okay, let's look at this example. Jack wanted to buy a house last year, but he couldn't do that because he didn't have any money. So, if I had had a lot of money, I would have bought a big house. Did he have a lot of money? Look at Susan again. Yesterday, Susan wanted to phone Paul, but she couldn't do that because she didn't know his number. If I had known his number, I would have phoned him. But she didn't. So here are the two examples. What's the rule for the third conditional? So the third conditional is the past perfect simple clause in the if dependent clause. And then in the past, in the main clause, it uses the past conditional. Would plus have plus the past participle. In the third conditional, we're talking about the past, something that we would have done. But it's an unreal past situation. It's something that is contrary to reality in the past. In the first example, Jack didn't have any money in the past. And in the second example, Susan did not know Paul's phone number. Those are unreal situations expressed in the past tense. Now, what's the difference between the second and the third conditional? If I saw a car accident, I would call an ambulance. I don't see a car accident now. It's unlikely I'll see one. But if I did, in that possibility, I would call an ambulance. If I had seen a car accident, I would have called an ambulance. I didn't see a car accident, so I didn't call. But imaginary, if I had seen a car accident, I would have called. So notice that the second conditional is talking about now, a present situation. Whereas the third conditional is talking about the past, something that you would have done if the situation would have been different. Both are generally for imaginary or unlikely situations. Now, let's review. If he drives carefully, he avoids the accident. That's in general, right? That's the zero conditional. If he drives carefully, he will avoid the accident tomorrow. So he has to continue driving carefully in order for this to happen. This is the first conditional. If he drove carefully, he would avoid the accident today. But he doesn't. It's imaginary. He doesn't drive carefully. So he's not going to be able to avoid the accident. That's the second conditional. Finally, if he had driven carefully, he would have avoided the accident yesterday. It's in the past. He didn't drive carefully, so he didn't avoid the accident. Do you see the difference now between the four different conditionals? If you have any questions, just make sure you go back and review. Good luck on the quiz that is going to follow.